Ladies and gentlemen, pleasure to have you all here for our regular meeting of the Veteran Awareness Coalition. Tonight we have a treat. We're going to have our Lady of the Docks give us a quick and hopefully a very nice introduction as to how she has connected dots and how the players that are currently in, I should say, in play with Marcellus Gas Shale, how they interact with each other. So we're going to have her give her presentation first, and then afterwards we'll proceed with our regular meeting. It's an important enough topic, and we have Dora Hip-Hop here.
Yes.
What? Oh, yes, one more thing. We also have, somebody who wants to film the meeting and the presentation. And we want to know if anybody has any objections. In our bylaws, if there's any objections to any photography or any film being done, okay? If it's only one person, we can't let them film.
Where's he from?
Yeah, where's it from?
I work with energy and deck.
Energy and deck.
Should be enlightening for you.
So do we have any
No.
any objections? Do we have anybody who does not want to be filmed?
No, maybe.
Yes, no?
I object. I don't think there's a need to film this. Everybody's here gets to see it. That's fine. Yeah. That's my opinion.
Think we film their meetings?
I don't know. I think we should try to spread the word. Let him film it and show it to as many people as he wants.
Do we have any pro or against?
Well, they'll only lie anyway.
As long as, okay, I think.
I would suggest maybe to film the presentation, but personal comments, maybe not film that part.
Can you do that?
What would you like me to do?
So you can film the suggestion is to film the presentation, but not any other.
Yeah, that's all I was going to do anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Although I would have a concern with this. I would have a concern that this recording is going to be edited in such a way that commentary is going to be taken out of context and
I'll make sure I put-
used to misrepresent the intention of the presenter.
I'll make sure I put the whole thing up. And
Yeah,
you
but
give me your email, and then I'll send you the.
Yeah, I have no doubt you're going to film the whole thing.
No, I'm saying
My
I'll
concern is
no,
what
no.
happens with the whole thing.
I just said
filmed
I'll upload
afterwards.
the entire thing. Give me your email. I'll personally send you it, the link to it.
I believe that. You don't have
Okay.
to send
But then
me.
you could change
Yeah.
it easy.
I don't understand. I'm uploading the entire video for you
All right,
to watch it.
Okay, that's
Does that
good
make
enough,
sense?
actually.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Dory,
you
how do you
can't
Yes,
just
Dean?
say
Okay
because
with that?
Tom object.
Just
The only
put my
thing I
name on the
ask
record, that's all.
is that you spell my name right,
You got it.
okay?
Sure.
You spell it correctly?
You got it.
Okay.
That's the only request. You
Because
got it.
I want my EID hit list medal,
You got it.
okay?
She's been waiting
All
for
right,
it.
excuse me. Okay.
What's your name, sir?
Joe Massaro.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I object because this is a gentleman who has used all kinds of insults against Wendy and myself and anybody else that's been involved in.
What have I said? What have I said in my writing?
I'm the subject of your hip
About our Schlumberger activities up in New York State and.
Well, give me specific examples of what I said that you disagree with.
Pretty much the entire tone, you know.
Okay, the tone, but what if we took-
discrediting
okay.
anyone who is concerned about their children's health and about the, pollution in the neighborhood and about the
This whole thing
The whole-
goes
the
both
whole
ways though.
industry's,
I have seen stuff
BS.
written about myself as well. I don't tell you guys how to write your stuff. I don't argue. It's fine.
You were very crude though, to Wendy.
I listened to the hour and a half presentation. That's what I took from it.
Okay.
attacks and all
Okay,
kinds
guys,
of things
we
to
gotta get
distract
this
from the
Hello?
issue, so I don't even think you should be here.
Well, take a vote.
It's all right.
Take a vote, and
Frankly, I'd like to talk to you outside after the meeting.
That's all right.
Yes, Wendy?
I think and I could be very wrong, I think I might be the most recent target of EID's penchant for hit pieces.
I think so.
And this was indeed Mr. Massaro's hit piece.
Absolutely.
However, I absolutely nothing to fear, and I have absolutely nothing about which I am in any way dishonest with respect to my analyses of what EID does. They have some folks at EID who are their cheerleaders, one of whom today called me demented, actually. But for all that, I'm fine with his filming, if no one else has an objection. And I feel like I have
As
some
long as
say,
he
because I'm.
represented properly.
Hey, he has to put up the entire film.
Yeah, that's fine.
He
I,
cannot edit the film.
that's fine.
Okay,
Are we good then?
Roger is fine.
Good.
Fine with it?
No, is Tom fine?
fine.
He was the
Just
one who
go ahead.
objected.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Okay, Dory, where's yours?
Okay, my name's Dory Hippoff, and as you know, I connect with blogging quite frequently on shellshock.org. I'm not a professional researcher or anything. I have 2 associate's degrees, one in CAD drafting and one in graphic design. I don't get paid to do any of the research. Basically what I do at work is I draw out blueprints and do graphic design work for the company. And I'm head of the research committee for GDAC, and I've been a member of GDAC for a little over 2 years now. Now what you see up there is my spreadsheet. This is the heart, this is the raw data of my dots. It's real simple, has a name, company or cross-reference, where there's, where the connections are between 2 places, title, the link where I found the information, and then notes is usually just other information I find that I don't know quite know where to put yet, so I have a notes column. And as of this morning, as you can see, get that, I got 6,297 dots. And these are connections between corporations, front groups, greenwash groups, public relation campaigns, politicians, investment companies, midstream companies, and any other related information connected to different people. All told, if you go through and actually look for individual entries, because a lot of people are in here multiple times because they have multiple dots, there's probably a good 1,500 individuals. Meaning people and corporations. I'm just going to show you this real quick. As you can see, the Marcellus Shale Coalition's in there quite a bit because they've got a lot of companies that are part of their organization, different levels of membership. And so that's why there's a lot of dots on here. So, but actually, if you boil it down, there's really not that many. So, without further ado, let's get on with the PowerPoint. Okay. Started actually back in 2000 getting interested in connections. And coincidentally, this is in year 2000, you all might remember the Florida recount going on. It was also called the Brooks Brother Riot. And what happened there is a group of people, as the media portrayed them, Floridians, normal Floridians in Dade County, burst into the offices where they were doing the county or the building and started yelling, "Shut it down, shut it down, shut it down." And this photo, without the number of faces on there, was in the Washington Post, it was on the internet, and it was one of the more widely spread photographs. Well, somebody went and figured out who these people are. And they're all staffers for Republican senators and Republican representatives out of DC. And the first guy, where you see the arrow pointed there, that's Tom Pyle. And I came across his name when I started actually looking into the connections in the gas industry. And he used to work for Tom DeLay, and he went into the private sector shortly after this, and he got a job as Director of Federal Affairs for Koch Industries, and he's now president of the American Energy Alliance and his partner organization, the Institute for Energy Research. And coincidentally, Gore versus Bush v. Gore decision, today's the 12th anniversary of it. Some of the connections are going to be obvious. You're going to look at it and go, oh, okay, I get it. That's where the connection is. And you're going to know what the picture looks like. Other connections, not so obvious. It's gonna go, what the heck? What's this supposed to mean? So today, we're gonna look at 3 areas. We're gonna do a brief overview on 3 areas. We're gonna look at public relations, we're gonna look at some political appointments, and corporate connections. And so with the publicity, the public relations, let me get my notes together here. All right, came across an article this morning. They were discussing shale gas drilling up in New York and how they were going to get the population behind it. Because as you may know, New York is quite far ahead of us in terms of blocking fracking from going on. And Scott Rotruck of Chesapeake Energy Corp said of the natural gas industry, the most critical thing we have to confirm in the public's mind is that our operations are safe. So I'm going to show you how some of these groups are connected in telling you that their operations are safe. 2 major trade groups. It's API, and the other one is the IPA. API is the American Petroleum Institute, and they have several websites where they're trying to convince you that gas drilling, natural gas drilling is safe. And if you notice, the only one of their websites that even mention natural gas is this one here, Center for Liquefied Natural Gas. This is mainly deals with exports. Energy Citizens, Energy Nation, Energy Tomorrow. You've probably seen the commercials already for them. They've been around for a few weeks. Vote for Energy. If you go to their website, they'll tell you how senators and representatives within certain states vote. And it's called the preferred vote, meaning that if a senator has a green check after the name, they voted the way the energy companies preferred them to vote. So that's either yes or no. And it was quite useful in looking at that during the election to see how they voted, so you know who not to vote for. So it can work both ways. Spin-off from Energy Tomorrow is Gas Prices Explained, Who Owns Big Oil, Energy from Shale. This is another big word. It's not natural gas anymore, it's shale energy. Energy's Answered. Again, it's all PR. API, I want to mention this. One of their current directors is, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, is Tawfiq Al-Gabsini. He's headed the Saudi Arabian oil company subsidiary Aramco, which is state-run by Saudi Arabia. So much for being American. API spent approximately $7.3 million for lobbying activities in 2010. In 2011, they spent $6.3 million. And this is just lobbying. This is not campaign contributions or anything else. This is actually, or advertising, or commercials. This is directly lobbying Congress. It also funds other groups like Americans for Prosperity and American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC. So they're quite involved with whatever legislation is going on that's going to affect us. The other big trade group is the Independent Petroleum Association of America. This is the one that has spun off Energy India. Right now, keep in mind that this communications and right here, IER and EAE, the 2 that I mentioned connected to Tom Pyle. According to OpenSecrets.com, the IPAA spent $978,000 for lobbying in 2012 so far, and approximately $1.7 million in 2009, $1.2 million in 2010, and $1.3 million in 2011. This is the memo that came out from the IPAA giving birth to energy and debt. And I want you to pay attention to is that line. It's a new industry-wide campaign known as Energy and Debt to combat new environmental regulations, especially with regards to hydraulic fracking. And then they go on to ask for a lot of money from the gas and oil companies. There's nothing in the letter with regards to the impact on health, the environment, anything like that. They just want to combat new environmental relations, especially with regard to hydraulic fracturing. Okay, IPA. They create energy in depth. But you gotta have someone to manage it. This is, like I said, a public relations campaign. It's not a corporation in itself, it's not a business, it's a commercial. They have to hire somebody to run it. So they hired a company called FTI Consulting. And they pretty much manage energy in depth, and we'll show you that in a minute. Divis Communications was bought out originally by Financial Dynamics, which is based in the United Kingdom. So it's not even an American company. Financial Development changed their whole name to everybody to FTI Consulting this, FTI Consulting that, depending on the department. FTI Consulting, formerly Financial Dynamics, and this is from their website, one of the world's highest regarded communication consultancies. Now, if you go look in a little program that's on the internet called Who Is, you can see FDI, an Energy in Depth organization, was registered by Chris Tucker under FD Divis Communications. So there's your direct connection with Energy in Depth. It's basically a commercial. These are the members and funding sources. The IPA has capped the fund Energy in Depth and other members that have been listed as participating in Energy in Depth. So it's quite a crew. These are mostly trade organizations and the like. The funding sources: Anadarko, BP, Chevron, El Paso, and Canon, Halliburton, Marathon, Occidental Petroleum, Schlumberger, Shell, API, Talisman, XTO Energy, the who's who of gas. Energy in Depth has 2 field offices, or field websites. I don't know if they actually have any physical offices. There's the EID Marcellus Northeast Initiative and EID Ohio. They also have people in California, Illinois, Michigan, Mountain States, and Texas. No websites for them have been found yet. I keep looking, they're not there yet. A number of these people work for EID, FTI, and the IPAA. These are the ones that have more than one in common that aren't just an EID connection. Brian Kennedy, David Quast, Chris Tucker, Travis Rundell. They used to be former secretaries' aides to federal and state representatives. The ones with the blue stars are spokesmen. They've been listed as spokesmen or support or consultants to the Marcellus Shale Coalition. So you've got your TV commercial, you got your producers of the TV commercial, and you got your funders of the TV commercials. All right, so some dots here. Brian Kennedy, Senior Managing Director at FTI. He's also listed as a press contact for Energy in Depth. He co-founded IER, the Washington office. Robert L. Bradley co-founded, he's the CEO and he co-founded IER. He's a former director of public relations policy for Enron. Thomas Pyle, that we saw in the beginning, was a lobbyist for the Koch brothers. He's and a former policy analyst for former Representative Tom DeLay, Republican of Texas. Okay, political appointments. This is how much lobbying money the natural gas industry has spent in Pennsylvania. And that's only through the first quarter of 2012. So the total number is very much higher. So as of the end of March of 2012, it was $1,833,275 total. Okay, because this is cumulative. And so a little over what? 4 years, 5 years, $15 million in lobbying. Just lobbying. top 10 in-office recipients of the industry donations. This is from January 2000 through April 2012, and there's some Corbett Cops list here. Scarnetti second, Reed, and then it goes down. You got two Democrats here, and Bill DeWeese was convicted and he resigned, so he's out of there. So these are just industry donations, okay? And then I went through the MarcellusMoney.org data, and I extracted information of money just from Corbett from 2004 to 2011. And these are the top 5. Now, the CEO and chief and president of Bradford Energy is C. Alan Walker, and he is now our secretary of the Department of Community and Economics. Yeah. Okay, Crancer. Michael Crancer. His father donated $230,000 to Corbett's campaign. Now, Pennsylvania is one of 11 states where there is no limit on how much money an individual can get. Ronald Crancer is the second highest single donor to Corbett. Crancer himself maybe didn't have that much confidence, but he only gave Corbett $7,500 and change. But yet he got to be the secretary of DEP. Okay, after winning the 2010 race, Corbett, any incoming governor or president has to set up a transition team. So from the time they're officially win the race till they take office, there's that 2-3 month period where they're transitioning and getting people in. And Corbett set up the 2010 Energy Environment Transition Committee. Crancer sat on it. Nicholas Debenicus sat on it, who is the CEO of Aqua America. Out of this came the Marcellus Shale Advisory Commission, of which Crancer, as DEP secretary, became part of it. Debenicus is a director for the Exelon Corporation, as is former Governor Tom Ridge. When he left as Homeland Security, he set up a group called the Ridge Policy Group. And he was hired by the Marcellus Shale Coalition for lobbyists for about 2 years. And there's two other people connected with the Ridge Policy Group that are still connected with Marcellus Shale as consultants. So Crancer did spend some time at Exelon, the same time these guys were directors, as a former assistant general counsel. Okay, the two guys that are listed on the Ridge Policy Group and Marcellus Shale Coalition are Mark Campbell and Mark Holman. And I don't have too much on them yet. Okay, before Crancer, well, when they were doing the run-up to Crancer being nominated and how good he was going to be for the environment and how smart of a pick he was, there was a short article in some paper that came out where his first law clerk was talking about Crancer's experience as the environmental hearing board judge. And he had a case before him that had to do with some miners complaining about the environment and the safety and everything that they had to work in. So Don here says the guy, he's referring to Crancer, suited up in all the gear and got the training, and he walked around in a mile below the surface, thigh-high water. It was consistent with what he did to Crancer. Now when I read that, I went, okay, so maybe this guy's not going to be that bad. Well, anybody know how many times he went up to Dimmick and had a glass of water? All right, so much for, he'll go in a mine and suit up, but he won't go up to have a glass of water. Or anywhere. Butler, Washington County, Leroy, Lenox, any of the places that we've seen the articles where people have had problems with water, he won't go up and have a glass of water. Okay, this one's a fun one. This is hockey pucks and drill rigs. What do hockey pucks in common? Well, we're going to find out. The Marcellus Shale Advisory Commission, when the list first came out in March 2011, I looked at it and I went, okay, it makes sense. This guy he's with the Secretary of Department of Protection, Community Economic Development, yada, yada, yada. You got your Chesapeake Bay Foundation, Nature Conservatory, EQT, which is a drilling company. Okay, so it's making sense. Yeah, you got a bunch of government people and a bunch of corporate people. But then I get to this guy's name. Terry Pagula, Delray Beach, Florida. It's no name, no company, no title or anything. And I'm thinking, who's this guy? Why is somebody from Delray Beach, Florida on a Pennsylvania Marcellus Shale Advisory Committee? Why? So I started looking it around. And there's Terry Pagula. And so as I looked, I found out he bought the Buffalo Sabres hockey team in 2011. And I know it's a little difficult to see, but the Buffalo Sabres has now gone green with companies such as Intergyrus, Modern something or other, National Fuel. These are all gas drilling companies that are funding this green thing for the Sabres. But still, that didn't make any sense. Why the hockey? Well, he gave $88 million of an original donation to Penn State for a hockey arena. Another $15 million in this year for a total of $103 million to Penn State for a hockey arena. Still, what's that got to do with gas? Well, Cliff Benson brokered the deal, and in order for Pagula to buy the Sabres, and he's the team executive. He's also a trustee for Second Mile, which we know is connected to Penn State. The Board of Trustees members, not all of them, but a number of them, combined gave $650,000 to Corbett for his campaign. And Corbett, as governor, and as all Pennsylvania governors are, they're ex officio on the Board of Trustees. Still no gas. All right, well, Pagula, I found out, is a former CEO of a company called East Resources, which was sold to Royal Dutch Shell in 2010. So there's your gas connection. Now, East Resources, you may remember, out in the western part of the state, there was a blowout, and there were a number of cows that were quarantined after wastewater from a gas well leaked into the fields. Tests were performed, and they found hazardous chemicals and heavy metals, including chloride, barium, and strontium. East Resources didn't dispute the fact that the leak had occurred. Miracle right there that they didn't dispute it. They were fined $24,000. So no wonder they didn't dispute it. And then right around the time that story was in the paper, there came the announcement that the East Resources was sold to Royal Dutch Shell. Now, Royal Dutch Shell's headquarters is in the Netherlands, not even a U.S. corporation. The Shell that you see around here doing the drilling is a subsidiary called Shell Appalachia. So that's how they get around some of this stuff. All right, Terry and Kim Pagula. Number one, top donors to Corbett. Number one, $280,000 in 2010. And if you actually look at the donor records, Pagula lists himself as an executive of Royal Dutch Shell, or president of Royal Dutch Shell, and Kim Pagula listed herself as an executive, and on their next set of donations, they both listed themselves as retired and homemaker. Kim Pagula has recently thrown another $50,000 to Corbett. And guess where Terry ended up? On the Marcellus Shale Advisory Commission. He was appointed, so here's another one. Meanwhile, Royal Dutch Shell wants to buy a cracker factory. Well, it wants to buy an old factory in Beaver County and convert it into an ethane cracker factory. And they're gonna be getting a 15-year tax exemption and $66 million in annual production tax credits. So, that's a pretty good return for $280,000 and change. Okay, in an interview by Onward State, which is a Penn State student newspaper, Pagula was asked about his original $88 million donation. And this is a quote from Onward State. And the interviewer said, if you could tell students here at Penn State one thing, what would it be? He, Pagula, paused for another second before saying, I would tell students that this contribution could be just the tip of the iceberg, the first of many such gifts as development of the Marcellus Shale was allowed to proceed.
Yeah. A bribe.
So, back to those dots. You don't know what they are. You find out what it is. And then I got some books here, recommended reading. Flat, Hot, and Crowded, Why We Need a Green Revolution, The Wrecking Crew, How Conservatives Rule. Don't Think of an Elephant. Excellent, about how language manipulation. For instance, it's no longer hydraulic fracturing or fracking, it's stimulation. We are stimulating wells. Free lunch, how the wealthiest Americans enrich themselves at the government expense, and sticking with the bill. And this one here, by the time you get through the third chapter, you're going to be looking at commercials with a magnifying glass and see who sponsors them.
Yeah.
Really, really excellent. Trust us, we're experts. And then after that, I've just got a series of where all the sources for this presentation go. So, yeah. So.
Roy, thank you very much for this. Actually, a pretty nice presentation.